we learned a valuable lesson in product name. It actually matters. A lot of it has to do less with the brand name, but how well they've executed on it. You got to know your target customer inside and out, and you got to adapt your whole view of the world around that understanding. It doesn't solve all problems, but it is the ultimate alignment mechanism, even for small companies. My number one piece of advice to portfolio companies right now, look at marginal ROAS. Look at like the last dollar spent as your indicator as to whether or not this is still a viable strategy for you. And if not, you better be looking up funnel and you better be thinking more diversified. ChatGPT is not just doing a number on organic, it's doing a number on paid. People are getting less traffic from Google organic because of ChatGPT. People aren't putting as much scrutiny on marketing attribution as they should. And this is nothing new, but people are giving way too much credit to Google. The amount of focus that a company has is going to be highly correlated with the success they have at actually driving their bookings goals for the year.
But is Skull Candy, did they just not innovate? Because it's such a great name.
Yeah, they used to be cool. And then I think Apple ate their lunch.
Yeah, the Beats acquisition by Apple, I think, made things really tough for Skull Candy.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to say the word Skull Candy.
It really is. That's my point.
It's better than Turtle Beach.
What?
Turtle Beach makes a bunch of headsets. It's
Oh, got it. Yeah, that would be like that. Turtle Beach is more like a more like golf sort of, you know what
resort.
I mean? Resort, like a Tommy Bahama type. Yeah. And then Skull Candy is like, that's gamer, hardcore, could be skatewear. Could be an energy drink.
Therein lies the problem. The name does not say what it does.
But it goes on your skull.
Look at the CMOs coming in hot.
Oh, Skull Candy. I never thought of that.
Candy. Yeah, that's true. Let's not let Matt get into the candy part. We'll stay on the skull part. Yeah, it's good. All right. So, by the way, Dan, it's been a while for us, so we're a little out of. This is like we're out of practice.
We are.
I think our last. Well, no, you're not. You're talking every day. Look at this guy.
I am talking. I don't do a lot of podcasts though, so this is
okay.
Well, we haven't done one in like 6 weeks, so you're in good company.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my point, man. We're like just getting back in the swing of things. All right, so the Dan Kimball show. Okay, so I've known Dan for a long time. We did work with him. Are you ready for this? Eventbrite. Dan, back in 2016-ish, 2017-ish, right?
He's still got the swag.
That was my when I became a new Eventbrite employee. This is what they gave me. The Skull Candy. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, this is.
It all comes back to Skull Candy.
It does.
All roads lead to Skull Candy.
It's true. And then we became friends, and he's been a longtime executive marketer, right? And so I think, did you leave Eventbrite to go to Yelp?
I did.
Yeah.
I left Eventbrite. I left one struggling business to go to another struggling business.
God,
hey man, it's the story of a lot of our lives.
Yeah,
buddy.
take a look at my resume, man.
And then, and for the last like 3 some odd years, he's been the CMO of Spectrum Equity. So, we love the background of. Being in the seat and now sort of advising lots of different companies on their marketing as part of the sort of guest type that we have on the show. So you're gonna bring a new experience to the audience. And guys, I don't know if Matt and Dan know each other.
No, this is our maiden voyage.
This is it.
That's awesome.
From ABM to PLG, from Medic to MedPick, the world of business is constantly evolving. We'll cover the who, what, where, when, why, and most importantly, how you get the transaction. I'm Matt Amundson, and he's Craig Rosenberg. Let's get started.
So, and I will introduce also to the audience today's guest, Dan Kimball. Okay, There you go. Thanks for waving, because if we had canned clapping, Sam, write that down.
I'll work on
We
that.
need that, because
I'll add that in
weird.
post.
Yeah.
I made the intro and then it was all quiet and shit, and then I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, Dan did a meek wave, and then Matt did like a soft, yes. Jesus Christ.
I'll add raucous applause in post.
Could you? Thank you. Thank you. Make me look cool. Make me look cool.
Dan, quick question for you. Recently, did you get a payday? Because it does appear that Eventbrite was acquired by Bending Spoons, a company I've not heard of before.
Yes. Bending Spoons is in the business of buying washed up tech companies. I think that's their business model. And
Is that right?
Unfortunately, I think Eventbrite's a wonderful place with a great product, but they got bought for $5 a share. And that's not a wonderful outcome, I think. But I think they're probably in good hands with a roll-up, because I'm sure Bending Spoons has some kind of strategy for these companies.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. That's
I
the
did
story.
not know Eventbrite got bought. I actually, ironically, guys, before we get going, I've been listening and trying to change my phone habits from doom scrolling X to listening to music again, like real music, not my kids, like a, not just, NBA Youngboy and stuff, like, guys from my era. And now my feed has changed, so I got like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all this stuff. It's been pretty fun.
Nice.
And so last night I went on, and I'm like, you know what? I should go to a concert. I mean, this is how bad it's been, right? I'm like, I'm gonna go to a concert. And I was trying to look through it, man. It's I think I'm gonna go to the Foo Fighters concert.
Whoa,
Yes.
look at you.
Yes.
I think that would be a good. And I think my kids need to go to more I took them to their first concert, which was it Luke Bryan, or what was the other Bryan? One of the Bryans.
Zach Bryan.
Yeah. And they loved it. They had a ton of fun, and I'm like, I gotta culture them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, that's been some of the best experiences I've had with my girls. I've got 2 daughters, and they're both late teenagers now. It's always the concerts. More than anything, we've been going to music since they were younger, and that's the stuff they want to keep doing with me too. So as you get older with them, if you share any music taste at all, I think that's great.
I know, but I'm gonna have to do a lot of retraining. Like the kids will change anytime I have it on, and then it is gonna be Lil Baby or Da Baby or an NBA Youngboy, right? So I've gotta. And look, I listen to it. I'm down, but it's not moving music.
You're not down. You're not down if you said you're down.
You're right. That's a
You
good
might
point.
be up.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, you're up.
Words matter. I got a bunch
fellow
of marketing
kids.
guys on this show. Anyway, all right. So speaking of, so Dan, there's 2 parts to the show. One is, we're going to ask you to tell us some fun go-to-market stories or company building story, one, or, if you have multiple, great. And then, the 2 or 3 things you're seeing out there that's working. So in go-to-market, but let's just start with a fun story from you. You got anything for us?
I might have a story or 2. So this is an early go-to-market story. This is
we love early
love
go-to-market.
those.
This is early.
See, you're
They're
doing
always
great,
the best.
man.
Yeah.
This is early. This
off
is
to a
this
great
is
start.
This is like when I was 22 years old. Okay, so this is like going
even
way
better.
back.
Cue
way
the
back.
Eagles.
And-
See, now I'm listening to a lot of music. Cue the Eagles now. Okay, go.
I mean, for me, it was more grunge. It was kind of Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins. But this was actually a lesson in product naming. Going back to our Skull Candy conversation, it was a valuable lesson that I learned early in my career. So the first job that I had right out of college, I won't tell you the year because that would definitely date me, was I ran a gym in Cape Cod. So I graduated. It was great. I graduated college, and my 2 best friends and I moved to Cape Cod. And one of the guys, his parents had a house in the Outer Cape, and they gave us their house, they gave us their boat, they gave us their pickup truck,
Yes.
and they invested in a fitness center for 3 months. They leased all the equipment, they got the space, and they said, "You guys run it, and this will be your first entrepreneurial opportunity post-college. Build your resume.
Sweet.
And I was like, this is amazing. A lot of summer residents, closest gym was 20 minutes away. So there's a big supply demand problem. It was prime opportunity, right? Who wants to go to the beach when you can sit in a sweaty gym, obviously, right?
Clearly.
I'm just going to set this up. I am going to say the date. This is the late 90s. And fitness was kind of in, but no one really talked about eating disorders. And I'll get back to why that's important in a second. Remember, this is a product naming issue. But it was a nice facility. We had rowing machines. What did we have? Treadmills, ellipticals, free weights. And we ran a good shop. We played grunge music. We often opened on time. Sometimes we'd forget to open up and members would find our house and knock on the door and tell us to open the gym. But when we wanted to get the word out, I was not a marketer at this point, but I think this is where I found my place. We decided to make a radio commercial, to let the whole of Cape Cod know that we existed and to come check it out. And I think we were giving away a free day and then you could subscribe for a month or something like that. And so we made the commercial. It was super fun. I think it was a take on Beverly Hills 90210 or something really funny. And it was good. It was really fun. We had a blast making it. And up until now, a lot of people knew about the business, but most people didn't because we were kind of in a strip mall off the side of the road and there wasn't good signage. It was just kind of this thing. And it was there's some fitness equipment in there, but no one really knew the name or what to do about it. After the radio commercial, everybody knew about it, right? The whole of Cape Cod knew that this fitness center existed. And we had lines out the door after this radio commercial. Unfortunately, many of these people who wanted to come to the gym were there to lecture us on the name of the fitness center, which apparently was offensive. So just a little backstory. The parents of my friend who gave us the money also were in charge of naming this place. Now, the mom was a dermatologist and the dad was an orthopedic surgeon. Mom, dermatologist, skin, dad, bone doctor. Skin and Bones was the name of the fitness center.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was not.
Oh, Lord.
In hindsight, not a great name, but we were too young and stupid to know that was offensive. And I think they were a little bit old and not really understanding that even though that's tongue in cheek and funny for them, that it would be misperceived. And this did not land well. And I don't think we hit our subscription targets for the summer. Not only because of the bad name, but we learned a valuable lesson in product name. It actually matters. And if you offend people with your product name, these days it tends to work in some spaces, but that kind of name is just going to piss people off. So it didn't work, but it was a good lesson nonetheless.
See, now, you know what, Dan? I was worried about you and your story.
You were?
Because you said, because we said, okay, what's your story? And he said, well, I may have some stories. And it's that means he's going to be oh, this one. That was a great story.
Yeah, that's a top 5 story.
Lesson.
That's a good one.
The twist on the name, that thing whacked me in the face. I was rolling. I'm like, fuck, these kids got to live in Cape Cod and run their own business.
It was awesome.
I'm not sure there's anything better.
And holding back on the name.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. The name reveal was perfectly timed.
Build up.
And the logo. Our logo was this stick figure holding up a set of barbells.
Oh, boy.
It was just all the wrong. It was all the wrong stuff.
Oh, God.
It was so bad.
Oh, Lord.
It was so bad.
Oh. Hey, the people waiting outside to lecture you, were you guys? I'm just imagining this, guys. Look, think about this. So Dan and his buddies, they're all excited. They're holy crap! They're high fiving because the ad worked. Then they get there and people are incensed. They can't wait to give them the business. I mean, what was that like?
Not literally.
Not literally give us the business. It was not great. We were not very good at defending ourselves. We kind of, we we had our hats on backwards. We were kind of like, we were bros.
Yeah.
And we were like, what are you talking about, man? It's hilarious. And they'd be like, my daughter struggles with eating it. And we'd be like, it was a real lesson. I mean, it really was. It was kind of like, in hindsight, like, what a bunch of dummies. It was kind of funny. But in the moment, we were like, we were pretty upset. We were like, what just happened,
Yeah.
But it was really fun to make.
Story.
It was fun to make the radio commercial. I have not made a radio commercial since then, and I have to say that was probably one of my most fun marketing experiences. Was going to the station and doing that. That was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, no, wait a minute. That sounds bad on my part.
Horrible.
It's not a. Yeah, it's a
Horrible.
terrible story that landed. You landed the plane. Okay, love that. All right, so scale of 1 to 5 on that story.
It's a top 5
Matt?
story. Top 5 story.
Yeah, top 5 for sure.
And mostly
I think
because
so.
Dan's such a good marketer, the storytelling aspect of the way he unfurled the story was
so
just
good.
Right.
M. Night Shyamalan-esque.
Had I told you the name of the fitness center in the beginning, it would not have had the same
terrible.
impact.
Yeah.
And I did lay a few like Easter eggs. I said eating disorders were still not really part of the dialogue back in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
But I think behind closed doors it was. I think that was therein lies the difficulty.
I once had an idea during this sort of golden era of vaping to create a nautically themed vape shop called Vape Cod. Oddly enough, I couldn't get any I could not get any financial backing for that.
Okay, that was a great transition. Speaking of product naming, actually, let me ask you marketers this. What's the best company name for the right reasons? Not just, I like Skull Candy. We were just talking about that. But, like, if you guys had to let's do tech because we're in tech. Like, if you had to say, like, this was one of the best company names of all time, what would you guys say? Think about that for a sec. And Sam, you can join in too, buddy.
Well, I know you would probably say Salesforce.
Why?
You said that in a past episode.
Oh, I've already done this question?
Not this directly.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, Salesforce followed Dan's rule of you knew what it did, and now you don't. I mean, now it's just beyond. Actually, you guys should talk about that. What is there a like evolution point where the name doesn't matter anymore, and it's just like the brand has built up around the name? Because in the case of Salesforce, that was a good ride for 20 years on the perfect name, and then now they've sort of broadened their horizon, and I don't know what that, when that's doable. But anyway, all right, go. What do you guys got? What do you guys got for me?
I think Apple is brilliant. Only because it doesn't limit them on any product set, and it was so good in reaction to like the boring kind of PC world, which was so kind of gray and vanilla and had no personality. And I think the Apple with the rainbow logo on that first kind of set of computers just kind of made a statement about what they stood for. And it's sustained, and it could be anything that you want it to be, but everyone kind of inherently knows what an Apple well-designed product is. And a lot of it has to do less with the brand name, but how well they've executed on it. But I think that's any brand. I just think that's a brilliant one because of what they've become.
Okay, I like that one.
Yeah, I've got a similar vein, which is Oracle, which I think is just such a badass name. I love it. And like, they were the concept of the name was like they were telling the future. And I mean, they created that, right? Like, we can feel however you want to feel about Oracle today, but like that was such a great name. And I've always loved it, and I actually love the word mark that they use. it's simple, but it works, and it's so good. I was going to say, like, on the literal front, I loved when Trip Actions came out. I love the name of that. I thought that was really cool. The fact that they're now called Navan is so bizarre to me. All due respect to the marketing department there. I'm sure that's working out great for you guys, but I'm like, what the heck is Navan? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because we moved to Navan, and I did not know what it was, so I just kept ignoring the emails, which went really well with the HR. All right, you know what? So this is interesting. So actually, if I'm taking, Dan said something interesting. He said Apple didn't limit them, right? So it added like this color to a dreary business, but it didn't limit them. So Salesforce.com then is a bad name.
It's a medium name.
Yeah, it's not the worst.
But it is limiting, though.
But I think they rode that to their sort of meteoric rise, right? Like it was just what you were getting from it, what the value prop was in those early days as they just sort of ate everyone's lunch. Like it just worked so well. And then, I think branching out and changing the brand name would have been bizarre, and they had already taken the company public. So you really can't do that. Yeah. And so, maybe 20 plus years down the road now, you're kind of wishing you were named something else, but I think it was part of the success.
Yeah, I don't think it's as troubling or limiting as like user testing, right? Like
Agreed.
I used to help those guys out, and I actually was around the time when they were doing far more than just user testing, but it's so literal and it's so descriptive. I kept telling them that it's time to change. They never did. And I don't think it really limited them, but certainly new buyers are probably confused about the full breadth of the offerings.
Yeah. I didn't even know user testing did more than just user testing. I always just assumed. So, there you go.
Yeah,
why would you,
man.
Today
why
I
would
learned.
Let me ask you guys two. I want to get your guys' take on two names. I know I'm diverting, but it's
go
really
ahead.
interesting.
This is
to me.
great.
Yeah.
So one is EMC.
Mm-hmm.
That's Oracle-esque, right? Isn't that like a similar, like really powerful name? Means a lot about intelligence and like, it sort of now it speaks to the company. I don't even know if what they're doing these days, but like, was that a good name?
I don't know that was a good name, because it's the first time that I've even put two and two together. That was like the formula, EMC squared.
Everybody's learning today.
I almost threw up. That was good. Yeah, okay. Not that great. Okay, I got one for you then.
Go.
And Matt, you actually...
let's get into it.
You'll have to go first. Ready? Datadog.
I've never liked the brand name. To me, it doesn't mean observability at all. It's a super successful company and they've done well, but like, I don't love the name.
But people like dogs, and they've got them in their logo.
Yeah, but people don't like data.
Yeah, I don't love the name personally. I don't know why I don't like it. It's more of a visceral kind of thing for me. I love dogs. I have two dogs. But it just seems a little too cute for a really big enterprise company, and I guess they're proving it doesn't matter. Like Snowflake is not a great name, but they doesn't matter. It's all about execution at the end of the day. I think you could probably work with any brand name unless it's offensive, like we did.
Yeah.
I think on the Snowflake thing, strange name. I think Denise has done a great job with the branding of it, and it's like you see a snowflake building, and you're just kind of like, "Oh man, it's cool."
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
think the word and logo mark there work really, really well. It probably wasn't helpful for them that like the term snowflake like really jumped into the zeitgeist not long after they started growing as a business, and so they're probably like, "Damn, I wish we weren't called that," but. I think that's largely like the negative connotation of the term snowflake has largely gone away.
Yeah. Fair point.
All right. I like it.
There was I will say there was a company that once recruited me that was called Zesty.
I remember Zesty.
Yeah.
Is Zesty still around? They did like cloud cost stuff.
I don't think Zesty made it, but I'm not sure. Maybe they did. Maybe they rebranded.
Is that a soap company?
No, it was cloud cost optimization. But yeah, I guess you're not fully optimized until you're Zest fully optimized.
I'm zestfully clean.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was bad. That wasn't even good.
No, you just dovetailed right off what I said. That was great.
I try that, but it's very dad joke to take
here
what someone said and do it. Yeah, you're right. All right.
Great brands are authentic, Craig.
Tis true.
That is so true. See, that was a dad joke that worked. All right. See, you did that. You did it. Dad joke that worked. All right. So, Dan, in your travels now for the last 3 years, like what can you tell us about what's working for folks out there? It's a difficult market. So, what are you seeing?
Yeah, it's a data dogfight out there.
Oh God.
I can dad joke you all day long.
Oh, clearly. Amazing. Wow. You were waiting for that.
That was great.
It just hit me. It was a lightning
impromptu. Okay.
Yeah. I think it is hard out there, right? There's a lot of rising costs, increased competition, longer sales cycles, worries about the economy, AI native companies eating old SaaS businesses lunch, all that stuff. This one might be a little bit boring. And I'm sure you've had people on here already talking about this, but it's the one that I probably spend the most amount of time with across our portfolio and talking to founders, which is you got to know your target customer inside and out, and you got to adapt your whole view of the world around that understanding. Some people call it ICP, some people call it CapDB, whatever you want to call it, advanced segmentation. The amount of focus that a company has is going to be highly correlated with the success they have at actually driving their bookings goals for the year. And if you think you can survive by kind of spray and pray and the old way, there are very few companies, I think, that can succeed with that old strategy. So I'll maybe bring this to life. Like one of our companies is a fintech in the kind of the tax space, and they're selling to corporations for years. Pretty much selling to everyone and their grandma, and it worked really well, right? Like in the ZERP era, no doubt it worked well. And even after that, I think it just like the after effect of just their product being the one and only, it just kind of worked. And then like maybe early last year, we hit this point where like the marketing team would hit their pipeline coverage goals. Like it would look good on paper, but each quarter we'd miss on bookings, and that there was like a growing margin and that delta of like we hit on pipe, but like our close rate's bad. And we kept looking at it. We're like, salespeople suck. Like the salespeople can't close all these leads. And it was a real kind of mishmash of problems that kind of sat in the middle of that. Because the leads were qualified by most definitions. Like we had good lead stage definitions. We knew what an MQL was. We knew what SQL was. We knew what it took. Like the BANT process was in place with the SDR organization, MedPick, all that stuff. Maybe those definitions were too loose, but it was the criteria was pretty clear. Very clearly, what they weren't considering was, and this was kind of hiding beneath the surface, is that the ERP that these companies were on really made all the difference. Like several of the ERPs were essentially off limits, or just created so much friction in the sales process because their competitors already had like a fully integrated partnership with these ERPs, or they were like kind of in the bag with them, but this was not in their lead score. Like there was nothing in there that said which ERP must they work with and what are the conditions of that ERP relationship. And frankly, they hadn't done the hard work of just looking at their customer file. And if they had, they probably would have deduced just by looking at all the characteristics of their customers, who's closing, who's not, who's retaining, who's got the best LTV. The ERP tag would have stood out like a blinking light. And they just didn't do that work. And they lost like literally 2 years of of like, maybe not, well, about a year and a half, because we really started to solve for it in Q3, Q4 last year. But like it just wasn't working. We couldn't point to why it was. But if they had just looked at their customer file and run a regression on those characteristics, the ERP one would have stood out. And now I think what that's turned into is like every one of my portfolio companies and all the founders I talk to is like, run an ICP project. Like, there's easy ways to do it. There's technology that allows you to do it. You can figure out the signals. You can merge that with buyer intent to get a clear picture. Pipeline becomes more predictive of close rates. You don't scratch your head about why things aren't closing. It doesn't solve all problems, but it is the ultimate alignment mechanism, even for small companies. And it's like 75% of the companies I talk to just haven't done the work. And it's not hard work, but it's like people don't know the playbook and it seems hard and they just don't do it. And they're like, well, we have lead scoring and we bought 6sense, which has intent data. It's like, yeah, but like, have you asked like the questions about like why people are buying and why they're not? And have you thought about the 20 different hypotheses that would really unearth a lot of those kind of reasons why? And it's just been a big lesson over the last year and a half, 2 years. I just think it's like the most important thing to get right in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. It's also one of those things that I see a lot of companies get wrong because, they have very nebulous close loss reasons, or they have, the close loss reason that they have is like incompatible technology or something, instead of like, what is it? What is happening? And it's one of those situations where it's like, you take I don't know how large the sales team is at this organization, but you take a 100-person sales team, you talk to 20 people over the course of, a week, you suss that stuff out really fast. And in certain cases, one of the biggest problems I see, especially at these like mid-sized companies, is the over-reliance on like technology and process sometimes facilitates this like miss of like really key, simple evidence that a good conversation with a sales organization can uncover very, very quickly. And I'm not saying that that's a company's fault, because I actually see this as like a huge problem across the industry. Is like, we're often doing like SQL analysis and we're pulling all these files and running regression and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, it's like usually Occam's razor here. It's just, hey, we're trying to sell to this company or these types of companies, and they have the wrong ERP system. And I can tell you from the discovery call, if they're running this, then there's no way that we're going to close a deal. But, either those people aren't given a voice, or somebody's not taking the time to have the conversation.
Or they get it wrong for a year and a half, and then the administration turns over.
Sure,
and then
exactly.
And then the next CRO comes in, and the next CMO comes in, and they don't look at history. And if they're smart, they're going to do the work, right? Yeah. But like, it just seems to be this revolving door of missed opportunity and missed work. And again, it used to be really hard to do this work. It doesn't have to be manual. It's one of the best AI use cases I know. Totally. It's like, nail this, and light up your whole cross-functional go-to-market and product organization, your CFO. Everyone should just get around the table and say, this is our ticket this year. This is where our addressable market lives. This is where we're going to win. Let's go. And especially today with SaaS, just kind of slowdowns and competition, the focus is what's going to win. It's hard to accept that, but I just think it's where the world has gone.
All right, I'm going to ask you guys a question that I kind of I'm very curious about. What if there is no data?
Like, you have no customers, or you have, like, what do you mean no data?
No customers would be a version, but even if you only have 6, and you're not PLG. PLG does a good job of helping you get lots of data, right? So you're more of a classic enterprise software company starting out. You can't boil the ocean. You'll fail. But you don't really have the data to analyze things. What would you guys do there?
I honestly think it comes down to, like, the founders usually know their domains really well. And the early teams have, even if they only have 6 customers, they've talked to the market. If they're curious founders and they built this thing, maybe they came from industry, maybe they built a fintech, they came from banking. They're just like, they're knowledge experts. So I think just using common sense about like, if a company has this aspect, then they're a good prospect. If they have this kind of, if they're hiring these sorts of people, they're an interesting prospect. If, they have this many employees, like, I think common sense can drive your hypothesis development. And then even if you don't have the customer file to bounce it off of, you can probably find ways to like figure it out. Like just, either through sales processes, through marketing, through survey work, or through just like, okay, commonsensically, this is our ICP. Let's try it out for a quarter. And it's going to be better than spray and pray and not learning anything because you don't have enough touch points with any one of those kind of sets of ICPs. So I think it's common sense.
I would agree here. I think the other thing I would say is like, this is where product management plays like a really important role. And I'm not saying that you probably have product managers at this stage of the business, but whoever is acting as the product leader, they should know. Like, this is a technology we integrate really well with. This is the stuff that we don't. And you should be able to narrow down your ICP just based specifically on what environments you're building your product for. If you're building a product that is dependent upon a CRM, an ERP, or some other sort of like nesting larger platform. So they should know, and you should stick within that as much as possible. Inevitably, you're going to get somebody who comes inbound, somebody who answers a phone call, somebody who clicks on an ad or meets you at a trade show and doesn't have that environment. And you're going to have to weigh out whether or not there's a market that exists there and that's worth the R&D to go out and build a better integration with something else. But you got to start small and you got to start narrow. And that's like, I think that's very antithetical to the way we think about businesses here in the Valley. But, if you build the foundation correctly, if you go close the right types of companies, and if that works and there's a real market there, then you should be fine. It's more than, as long as you're priced correctly, it should be more than enough to get you your first milestone ARR numbers, whether that's 10 million, 20 million, or 50 million. And then after that, then you start thinking about expansion. But, to me, it's product management. Whoever's in charge of that, in a lot of cases, that's the CEO, is what makes or breaks your ICP formation in the early part of your business.
Okay, I like those answers.
Oh, wow.
I'll give you guys a couple thoughts, which might tie to what you said. So one is, now that I've seen all these early stage pitches, like really good founders built something to solve someone at some company's pain. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The good ones.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen the way they talk. They built a product for an ICP already, and like those are you could see it. It's just how they talk about it. Like, for example, in their pitch decks, they talk about the market and the problem. And they talk about, that person at that type of company's problem. And often the ICP lies in why you built the product.
Right.
Why you built the company.
Yep.
And I think things distract them, like the new salesperson comes in, he's got a list of 500, and it's like, no, it's not going to be enough. You can't do it. You have to embrace the idea of targeting and segmenting. And often the company is a good one is built to solve someone at some entity's problem. And that is a good start, because once you start marketing and selling, then you're iterating. But you have to make a bet. And that bet often lies in the story on why you built the company.
Yeah.
That's one. And I could see it. I could see it in folks. So then the second, though, is using a proxy. So like early days ABM, I used to have to do this with people all the time, because if you guys remember, it was like people could not fathom this idea of constraining your targeting.
Yeah.
They couldn't understand it.
Yeah.
It was like, what? And then you would, in my job at Topo, I would win over marketing and then sales would blow it up, right?
Yep.
So you use a proxy. It could be a competitor, but it could also be someone in a very similar universe, right, that sells something akin to what you sell, and using them as your first sort of stab, right? I used to tell people all the time, well, let's look at your competitors. Who do they sell to? And when you would look, 9 out of 10 told you the market. And they say, well, we don't want to go direct at the competitors. It's like, well, you built a product to kill them.
Yeah.
So we have to kill them where they are. Now you can find your niche, but you won't find it. That's hard to bet, but you start there, right? And then you constantly iterate with data and feedback. The salespeople, to the chagrin of many, become one of the best sources of information that you'll have.
Yeah.
And the more and so if you set a conversation standard, like you have to have X number of conversations per week, and we want you to close business, but to get there, you got to do it. You will get the data you need to continue to refine and or redirect. So anyway, those were my additions to that. Okay, that was a really good one, Dan. I say we have had folks bring it up. What's interesting is what you said. First of all, you mentioned a name after ICP that I've never heard of. What did you say? ICP or
CapDB. CapDB is maybe maybe it's a PE kind of term. It's customer and prospect database. So it's a very specific project where you run regression against the characteristics that are most predictive of highest LTV in your customer database, and then you map that to the prospect audience. So it's ICP work.
Man, everybody on this call learned something today.
Yep.
Right. It's
all right. Well,
yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's one of those days. One of those days. Okay. Any other things you're seeing? That's a good one, by the way.
Yeah. I think probably another one that's top of mind. I literally was just on a call this morning with a guy, but it was already on my mind, and then I talked to a guy and he kind of reinforced it. But I think that I'm supposed to start with the headline statement. The headline statement here is that people aren't putting as much scrutiny on marketing attribution as they should. And especially, and this is nothing new, but people are giving way too much credit to Google. And this is also nothing new. But I think for the first time ever, their house is under attack in a real way. Like ChatGPT, yes. Paid social, yes. But people are finally waking up to the fact that, like, when you control the channel and the auction of that selling into that channel, and you control the analytics that tell you whether that channel is working or not, and it's all last click, and you're taking credit for everyone else's expense, it's only a matter of time before, if people have optionality, both on the channel level and also on the analytical level, they're going to start to look elsewhere. I think that's finally starting to happen. I'm not saying that Google would ever lie or do anything that's mischievous, winky face, but I'm not sure they've had enough intellectual honesty about just how meaningless last touch attribution is as a holy grail. And Google Analytics and AdWords really lean on this metrics, and less sophisticated marketers, of which there are many across startups, they just kind of believe it. And so, and like there's this over reliance and total inefficiency on their paid media spend as an example. So maybe like an example, like one of the companies I've been talking to, they're not a portfolio company. It's just a founding team who wanted some advice, was asking me recently, like, how much money they should put into upper funnel paid media channels like YouTube, TikTok, connected TV. Obviously, like everyone's saying, you got to invest more in brand. What's the brand demand balance? That's been a forever kind of conversation. Everyone kind of knows that you have to go create demand now, but like CFOs haven't yet bought into that. And the stress on the marketer is real because payback periods are coming from one side and demand is getting more expensive on the other, and you're getting squeezed. But like I looked at their performance data of this company, and in the tests that they ran in social media, TikTok, connected TV, and it showed that those channels were like deeply in the red when you just looked at ROAS. And Google was like this shining star with a beautiful ROAS and a short payback period. And the CFO was like, keep spending there. And it appeared very black and white to them. Now, I know I'm not the only one that's recommended this to marketers, but I was like, just add a 1-question survey at the end of your self-service checkout flow, which asks where people originally learned about your product. And, I think before they launched that survey, the data was telling us that Google drove over 60% of new customers acquired at a very profitable rate. Once we ran the survey, 70% of people said that they first learned about the company through social media. And like, especially in the most recent kind of monthly cohorts, it was very clearly that's where the momentum and the growth was coming from. They weren't really looking at the data with enough scrutiny because of what I said before. It's like Google data must be trusted and it's GA.
Yeah.
Their CFO loved it because it was a clean dollar in, dollar out attribution model. They hadn't invested in a mixed media model, which thankfully now you can as a mid-sized company. There's lots of options, but they didn't understand channel diversification strategy. But a simple question, like it literally revealed that all their beliefs about the ROI of their marketing dollars were false or at least highly questionable.
Yeah.
So now, as a result, over the last 6 months, they're investing more up funnel. We're starting to isolate some populations geographically to see if we can understand the actual monetary impact of upper funnel on maybe like performance channel efficiency, and really understanding how much we actually need to spend in the auction, which is getting increasingly more expensive and increasingly more hard to believe, versus like how much is actually going to come in anyway. Like incrementality is a dirty word at Google. So next up for them is like, let's invest in an MMM. You could spend like 20, 30 grand a year and get some good sophistication. And you can kind of run a full funnel strategy that's not as heavily reliant on Google, which is, by the way, getting more expensive. And ChatGPT is not just doing a number on organic, it's doing a number on paid, right? Like people are getting less traffic from Google organic because of ChatGPT. So their natural instinct is, I got to spend more money on CPC. And that's driving up CPCs. So you have this weird perpetual kind of motion of like, ChatGPT is eating my lunch. Google knows this. They're just going to catch it all in the paid. But now like the LTV to CAC is getting all out of whack. At a certain point, the marginal return on those ad dollars spent on Google get really, really bad. And so my number one piece of advice to portfolio companies right now is look at marginal ROAS. Look at like the last dollar spent as your indicator as to whether or not this is still a viable strategy for you. And if not, you better be looking up funnel and you better be thinking more diversified. Sorry, that was a long rant, but like it's a big deal right now, not just for like PLG and consumer, but also B2B enterprise. There's too much money going into the auction.
Fascinating.
There was
There was a lot in there, but
riveting.
I mean, a lot of
scandalous
good quality.
like, yeah.
So good, man. I'd love to take that deeper. I know we're running up on time here, but man, oh man, like, so, I mean, one thing that I've definitely seen as a CMO right now is our investments into other social networks have actually driven up. We're not investing more dollars into Google ads right now, but we're actually seeing more clicks on our Google ads as we've like diversified into places like Reddit and other channels like that. And we're like, are people just not conditioned to click on an ad in Reddit, but like they see the ad and then they search and then they click on our ads there? Like, is that your supposition at this point?
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of success with paid ads in Reddit. I've had more success in gaming the organic kind of community discussions. Yeah. But yeah, they won't show up in your attribution model. They will show up in your LLM share of voice reports though, so they're finally showing some, if you can translate that into ROI, they're showing some value. But it's still not like CFO dollar for dollar kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
This is fascinating. Can I throw you guys one thing? I was listening to Kara Swisher, and she basically said the one thing AI will do is Facebook and Google are going to wipe out the market on advertising because the AI will allow them to target in like the most extreme, amazing of ways, and nobody else will have that scale that will allow them to do what those guys will do. Thoughts?
She said that Meta and Google will take over the market, so they'll just continue their dominance and just get more dominant.
Even become people. Yeah, it'll wipe out the rest of the market on ads, digital ads.
I mean, I think those two platforms together make up like 80-90% of total media spend already. I think that's a possibility. I think like data is the network effect for AI to get better and better, and at some point, the more coverage and depth you have of that data on every human on Earth, the more powerful you become. But if LTV to CAC if that math doesn't math, then brands stop investing and they look for alternatives. And I don't know what those alternatives are. Is the problem, you know?
Well,
I mean, I've been thinking about running some ads in InTouch Weekly. That's still in print, right?
That's a great mag, man. Dentist office. Read that thing every time, man.
I think the Franklin Mint catalog is opening up some ad space.
Oh man, wow. There you go. That boy.
Yeah. It's good.
Speaking of just anecdotal on target market, you know, I took my kids to the model train show at the San Mateo County Fairgrounds. That
10 years ago.
There is a very specific persona there, to be clear. Like, yeah. I just walked in there going, and why did I bring it up? Because I kept thinking, like, as you were talking, it's like, well, your best guess might be the right guess. I'll tell you right now, nothing surprised me about the folks in the model train convention.
Nice.
None.
Good.
And thankfully,
you got a good head on your shoulders, Craig.
Can you be more specific about what you expected to see and what was delivered to you?
Maybe some examples.
I was thinking, well, you know, they're model trains and everyone's looking for something to do. So, like, would this be like a wide variation of folks that were in there, you know, that were checking out trains? But no, it was, there was, obviously families there with their kids. But yeah, there was the folks that were running the booths that sort of fit the bill.
Like carnies? Were they like carnies?
No, not like carnies. They're more like lumberjack outfits, sort of suspenders. A lumberjack flannel, maybe a Ben Davis Oshkosh type pant.
Yeah.
Like a thick canvas pant.
35% bushy mustache.
Yeah.
Not many women at all.
These are shocking insights.
So it delivered. It delivered.
Yeah, it delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. So Dan, that was fun as shit. You did good.
This was
man.
Great, man. You gave me a lot of things to think about. Like this was
the second
really
part.
Good.
I think is right. I think that's worth a show. I mean we got to unpack that because, I only threw in the Kara Swisher thing knowing we had little time, but like that one I think would be really worth digging in on. Not the segmenting ICP thing is a really important one.
Yeah.
But like what you brought up there, that's part of the second part.
Yeah.
Which is about, your ad spend and how you're going to use it going forward. That's part of what everyone's sort of juggling, trying to figure out right now.
Totally. Totally.
And
we're not all big like CPG marketers with MMM backgrounds, and we're not statisticians, but like the tools are there. The tools are there and the expertise is there, and I think the models are more accurate than the attribution that you get from the analytic systems right now. And I think we'd all be better off if we just put a little more weight in that. I really do.
Mic drop. There you go.
Bang.
All right. Well, Dan, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. It's good to see you. Hopefully you'll get a Peloton workout after this. And then you could, I guess, take a nap if I'm seeing the left shoulder correctly.
It doesn't even work anymore. It's just there for, it's a prop.
Okay. It's all show.
It's just a prop.
I like this.
It's a decorative bike.
I'm really fit. Look at the Peloton in the back. Okay. That was the transaction. Nice work, guys.
Yeah, it was
Thanks,
great.
guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Transaction. Craig and I really appreciate the fact that you've listened all the way to the end. What are you actually doing here? For show notes and other episodes, please visit us at thetransactionpod.com. Like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other place you get your podcast from. Either you have walked away from your podcast device, or this is playing somewhere in the background. Someone in your house would really like for you to shut this off now.